What's up, cyber peeps? This is your girl Toy Xavier here, and you're watching Toy Xavier TV. It's Wednesday, y'all, and you know what today is. Today is Story Time Halloween special because this is my favorite time of the year besides Christmas and Thanksgiving, that I get to tell all of my crazy experiences and crazy stories that I ever experienced in my life, to kind of give you all a little spook for Halloween. This is Halloween special number 3. And because I talked about missing and exploited children in my last vlog that I uploaded last night, I want to share with you all the most terrifying real life experience that had nothing to do with ghosts. This is like dealing with real crazy people. um, I wanted to share with you all my experience of when I almost was kidnapped. My arm is itching. Okay, so everybody who knows me know that I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I went to school in this little area called Frazier. It's like a small little town, basically, and I moved there. I actually moved into Memphis when I was a baby, but I was raised in Whitehaven area of Memphis, Tennessee, and my parents moved to Frazier area around uh, 87, 88-ish. I was in 5th grade, I think maybe 5th grade. Yes, I was in the 5th grade. I was 10 years old, and it was like mid-fall, and the neighborhood that I lived in had the school very like within close vicinity to where my residence was, and the school was maybe like a 10-minute walk. And I was living with my grandparents at the time, and they lived on a corner lot, so the side street that their house was adjacent to, I can keep straight and walk all the way down and run smack into the front of my school. That's how close it was. And this particular day, I would walk with friends, and or the people, like other kids in the neighborhood, but I was kind of new to the area. We had just moved over there, and I had just transferred into that school, so I really didn't know anybody, and I was also not in a good mood during those particular times. I had my reasons, and there'll be another story time is to tell you why I was like so unhappy during those times. But I also didn't like to be bothered too much. If I wasn't walking with somebody my age or hanging out, with people that I physically known for a while, I was pretty much alone. I kind of stuck to myself. So this particular day, I was walking home, and I have no idea why I never saw any kids that day. It was just a weird day. I don't know if I stayed late after school or what, but it was nobody out, and I was walking by myself, but it was still daylight. And I don't know. I really can't remember exactly why nobody was walking with me. Maybe I just was weird. I've always been told I was weird, but hey, everybody's different. So so this particular day, it was kind of chilly outside. So I remember having on like jeans, and the style back then, I had on like these little white slouch socks, but I had my jeans, they were like Guess jeans, they were like stuffed into my socks, stupid style. And I had on like some hot pink boots or something, like hiking boots or whatever. And I had on like this big hot pink sweatshirt, and a little like a little sweater or something like that, I was just using. And I had the sweater tied around my waist because it was kind of hot. Well, the kids in the neighborhood was always kind of scared. They would always cross to the other side of the street, and we had no sidewalks, y'all. The neighborhood had no sidewalks. It was like this small little patch of grass that was kind of like a ditch, and some, depending on the house, some of the ditches were really really deep, so we really didn't walk right there. We just walked right at the edge of the street, and cars had enough space to pass you. So this particular house that we had to pass every day had two Doberman pictures chained up to the front of the tree in the front yard, and we would be they would bark, and they would be kind of aggressive, but they would get so close that you would think they're about to bite you, and then the chain just stops. And so therefore they really never they just startled you pretty much. Well, I was walking, and I had noticed because I do pay attention to my surroundings consistently, regardless of what, how zoned in I am on reading a book as I'm walking, or I'm always paying attention to what's around me and sounds, especially when I'm by myself. Um, I noticed this green car. I don't remember the make and the model, but it was one of those older late 70s models, green cars where they looked more like muscle cars. And it had like the ugly green leather interior in the inside and like the rag top that was peeling and everything. And I noticed this car just kept driving through the neighborhood, and he, and like that street that I was walking on was like a main street to get to get deeper into the other neighboring streets, and the other houses and stuff. So it was like if you was gonna do a circle, you would automatically take that street, and it would take you back out to the main boulevard that what the school was on. So this man, I noticed him that he would always slow down when he passed me and look at me, but he never said anything. So me, I'm looking at him out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. I was automatically red flag number one. So I'm like walking up a hill. I'm like, I'm not gonna run. He drives off, and he'll speed up a little bit faster when he drove away. He comes back around again. It was like maybe 4 or 5 times because I was starting to count how many times he was driving around. And he always slowed down when he came to me. So I'm steady walking, and he was just staring. He would just stare. He wouldn't say anything. He would just stare. But he'll drive off, but he'll slow. I knew that he was watching me. I can feel it. So, and I looked the last time he did it, before he came back around, the last time he did it, I looked directly in the car, and I looked at him, and it was a black man, and he had the windows rolled down. This is how close he was driving to me. He had the windows rolled down in the car, and he was looking dead at me, and his eyes were bloodshot red, and you can smell alcohol. Like he reeked of alcohol, like he had been binge drinking. And he rolled the window down, and he just was looking at me, and that's how I was able to smell. And he just looked and kind of drove off again, but he didn't. He just kind of did a U-turn. This time I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, I'm gonna go off, and because I had a potty mouth back then, just like I do now. I'm like, I'm gonna go off on his ass, and I'm gonna take off running. So it was like maybe 2 houses before I got to the Doberman Pictures, and they were already barking because they saw me coming. And he pulls up right beside me, and he did that little small U-turn, and he's so close that it's like he can grab my arm, but I'm getting closer towards the yard where the dogs are, and I'm like, I don't want to get bit by them, but I'm trying to like lean back, like get away from him, because he's like, immediately when he pulled up beside me, he kind of like, he was almost to a complete stop, walking at the same driving at the same pace in which I was walking. And he looks dead at me. He says, get in this car and let me get you away from these dogs. And I'm like, no, no. And he said it again, get in this car and let me get you away from these dogs. And I'm like, no. By that time, I can feel myself about to panic, and I'm like, the anxiety and the adrenaline, and I'm like, oh shit, oh shit. And by this time, I just break off into a run. The dogs are barking, and I can feel them on my heels, but then I could tell the chain choked them because one of them kind of yelped. And he's just steady driving up, at the speed of me, and I'm looking back. I'm like, no, no. That's all I keep saying. He said, get in the car now. Get in the car. Let me get you away from these dogs. Get in the car. By this time, y'all, I'd already broken into a sprint. And he's like, this man is still telling me to get in the car. He's trying to get me away from the dogs. I had already left the dogs like 5 houses back. And I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running. And I'm like, oh, leave me alone. And he just drives up, and he's driving, and he's just looking at me. And he's got this like, that's exactly how he was looking. Get in the car and let me get you away from these dogs. That's exactly how he was looking. I'm like, what the fuck? Get away from me. And I'm like, I'm running, and tears are just pouring down my face. And I get to my house, and I knew that he was still behind me. And like, it was a street right before you got to the corner, before you where my grandparents were living at, and he just peeled off, like you can hear the rubber burning. And I'm like, is he gonna come back around and try to run me over? Because all type of shit was going through my head, y'all, because I had one of those childhoods where my parents told me everything. It was no sugarcoating. It was like no you know, maybe the first 2 3 years of my life it was Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy or something like that. But everything else, everybody was crazy. They were pedophiles. They're gonna snatch you. They're gonna take you away. We're never gonna see you again. They're gonna make you do something strange for a piece of change, and you're gonna be crazy. And they're gonna dope you up and drug you up and sell you off into this slavery for little kids. They kind of kept that clean, but me putting two and two together, I knew what they were talking about. And we're never gonna see you again. You're gonna be on the back of a milk carton. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in the car with anybody, even if you know them. If we didn't tell you, hey, such and such is coming to pick you up, or somebody's coming by, you don't do it. You don't get in the car. You don't open the door. It was so bad, y'all, that when my aunt came to the house to knock on the door, and my parents and my dad was at work and my mom was asleep, I wouldn't open the door. I'm like, well, my mom was asleep and she told me I can't open the door until my auntie could not get in the house. She was like, really? I said, I can't open the door. I don't want to get in trouble because, you know, she's not here. You know, she's asleep, and I was told not to open the door, and because she would come over unannounced, you know, because that's my mom's sister. And I was like that, y'all. That's how terrified I was. So when that man tried to get me, and he may have very well knew my parents or my grandparents and could have just, you know, hey, I saw her walking, I was going to take her home. But he didn't come at me the right way. You know what I'm saying? I probably still wouldn't have gotten in the car because I know how I am. Anyway, I get into the house and I bust in the door and I'm crying. And I'm like, I collapsed on the floor because I'm like wheezing. I was running so hard. And my grandmother was like, girl, what's wrong with you? You get chased by a dog or something? I'm like, yeah. I just told her yes. I didn't even say anything. I didn't tell her into detail about what happened. I just told her yes. So she was like, girl, go get you some water and, you know, let me make you something to eat. But y'all, I was so freaked out. I was shaking. I mean, I had like boogers in my nose and like dried tears, and my chest was burning. I was wheezing. I was like, oh my God, this man tried to get me. I almost got kidnapped. I was so terrified, and it took me a couple of days to get over it because my grandmother couldn't figure out, you don't want to walk to school? I'm like, no, can you take me to school? Can you bring me? I mean, literally, she would drive 2 minutes to drop me off and 2 minutes to pick me up. That's how close the school was, and that's how terrified I was of walking. And I don't think I ever saw that car again. And I don't know who this man was. And he may have been one of my friends, in the neighborhood's family members. I don't know. The point was, I wasn't getting in that damn car. And you was not going to get me away. The dog was going to have to chew my ass up that day, y'all. They were going to have to chew my little ass up because I was not getting in that car. Especially with somebody with red eyes with a DUI looking like he, you know, pedophile written and stamped all over his face and got the flags on the car and all of that. No. Anyway, y'all, that was my story. That was my kidnapping experience where I almost got kidnapped. And to this day, my parents said, well, "Good job. Good job that you didn't get in the car," because they didn't recall who he was either. Anyway, yeah. So y'all, please be careful because, I mean, I was lucky, and I must say I was lucky because if he really and truly wanted my ass, he could have got me, and I would have been gone because I was walking by myself. He was really close, and if he wanted to, he could have just grabbed my little ass and threw me in the back of that car and drove off, and that was it. And I would not be making this video. I'd probably be making other type of videos. So anyway, guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and thank you all for watching. If you have had any experiences like the one that I had, please put your comments in the comment section. I want to hear about it. Maybe it could be a story time that I can narrate for you all. But anyway, I appreciate it, and don't forget to watch the great debate tonight. I will see you guys later. Bye.